guys, how's it in the name of Christ? It's Karabo. Oh, let me start again. Hi, how's it in the name of Christ? It's Karabo. We've started again. Oh no. Anyway, so just in terms of how I'm doing, I'm fine, you know, just in case that was worthy of mentioning. I'm getting better. I'm improving day by day. It's the flu situation. This is what I sound like now. And I'm coughing it out, and it's disgusting, but it's getting out, and that's all that matters. Alright, so let me just put some caveats out there. Recently, I haven't been putting my caveats out there because I've been sad. Wearing app makeup by CapCut, so every so often it bounces like a baby. My captions are not always 100% accurate, and my silence detector, even though I'm getting better at it, sometimes cuts out my words. But I'm getting better at it. One day I might rock up and there'll be no words at all taken out, and this phone gives me problems, so every so often there will be a speech lag. Anyway, moving on. It's Saturday, and I just want to make a few corrections as I'm busy watching this scene unfolding in the Middle East, happening upon more information. And yesterday I said that DW News, not DW, sorry, but like Channel 4 News is American. No, it sounds English. It's definitely not Australian, so it's not American. But long story short, what I was trying to communicate yesterday is that Western media is deliberately charting a narrative already. They're creeping their like fingers into the narrative of looking at Israel as this like tyrant that's just wreaking havoc everywhere, and I ain't feeling it. But I will still stick to my guns concerning America and all of its insanity, saying that it is currently very lukewarm, and so it's not going to stick by the side of Israel because it's impossible for it to not manifest demons, because the left in America, what is this, like CNN and ABC and MSNBC, blah blah, there are news networks in America that are effectively just pushing a pro-Palestinian message, so it's only a matter of time before the whole country follows suit. Also, one of the biggest Ivy League universities in the US is pro-Palestine, Harvard, and a whole bunch of other universities. It is no surprise to me because I've never liked the organization. I've always thought they were a sham and a scandal. Black Lives Matter is pro-Palestine. Of course you are. You're always pro-war. Black Lives Matter likes anybody that is trying to uproot historical monuments. They're always trying to rewrite the narrative, change history as it has been written, and pretend like things never happened. So it is no wonder they're trying to pretend like Israel are not the people of God. So I'm not surprised about that one. However, all of these like rando things that are going on at this point, I'm just like, you know what, whatever. Let's just get to the point here. Israel's gonna win. I am anticipating global harassment, global increased like wicked sentiment against the people of God, because that's just what happens when God chooses you. Everybody else that's on the outside, not welcome to play in the kiddies' playground, is gonna be mean. So yes, the world is mean to Christians, and the world is also mean to Jews. Because God chose them, boo-hoo, no surprise. Okay, righto. So with all that going on, I'm just like, you know what, guys, whatever. I'm very, very tired. I'm very, very exhausted. And it's very disquieting to make an observation of all of these nonsenses happening all over the show. A deep and an egregious disappointment in American youth. I mean, guys, like the heartbreak, right? So there was this one Jewish boy at a university whose students were busy rioting against Jews, and he was being interviewed, and he couldn't even find words. He was like, I don't understand what's with the hatred of the Jews. He was like a whole Orthodox Jew. He was wearing that, is it called a yarmulke or what? That hatchy thingy. Just like a total Jew. The whole outfit with the highly buttoned shirt. And he was just like out of words. Like he could not understand how in the world he's even supposed to continue going to school with him being obviously and overtly and outwardly Jewish in a way that is observable with the naked eye, while on his campus there's like a whole rally and a riot that's pro-Palestinian, and fellow students are all up in this monstrosity. Like life is in danger type setup thing. Whatever, okay? I don't understand. Like world citizens, world citizens, not that you're listening to me, but you will one day. One of these days you're gonna listen. I don't want to sing. One of these days you're gonna listen, and like the heat in South Africa, you are going to braai, okay? You're gonna braai, you're gonna barbecue, you're gonna get hot, you're gonna jump up and down on a rotisserie and be like, echu, ouch, wish I had done that. But before then, kuzodelelwa all over the show, like proper. Wicked men and women and evil structures will thrive and thrive and thrive and do a thriving thing until they just can't thrive anymore. And at this point, I'm like, you know what, whatever. I'm thoroughly like, whatever. I'm so tired. It's exhausting. Like world evil. I don't get it. Like, how in the world? When did this whole pro-Palestinian sentiment even rise up off the ground? Oh, and another thing, oh goodness, like, wow, I got issues. Like, listen, right? Does anybody care that I have issues? But then again, don't nobody care about the church and the Jews. It's all good in the hood. You don't got to. Because guess who cares? God. Anyway, so there's like these Israel pro-Palestinian protests that lack absolute knowledge. They lack understanding, and they lack choosiness. God's choosy nature. Because that's who God is. Choosy. Like he gets to choose. Alrighty, like God has chosen a people, so how about you like join the people that have been chosen instead of just rioting all over the show and being mean about it? It's not like he's left you out. I mean, like, I don't get it. Like, God is not the Illuminati, guys. I'm just putting that out there. Yeah, he's not the Illuminati on some special select membership, esoteric organization. Only if you come from a particular bloodline can you join this monstrosity. He extended the gospel to like the whole world. So if you're calling him choosy, I'm just like, then how about you hop in the right camp that you might be chosen? How's that? It's not exactly the Illuminati, okay? It's Christianity. It's really very easy. So if you're going to be hating on people for being chosen, I just feel like join them. If you can't beat them, join them. Anyway, whatever, right? So he gets to choose his God. I'm just saying, here's another thing with these people out here properly like trying to have like a fit of rage, okay? And I'm like, your fit of rage is misplaced, like stop it. But you don't want to stop, so do you. Boo-hoo. And nobody cares. Except everybody cares, because it's a sensitive matter. When babies are being killed and women are being raped, and every single day you don't know if your kid is going to come back home because they've been put in a hostage situation, then it becomes a little bit, dire, this particular circumstance. It's like turmeric, pepper, and some lemon and ginger juice, because I'm literally I need to kick this disease like it's a bad habit. Alright, it needs to get out of my lungs altogether. Stop looking at that nasty background, because I didn't choose it, exactly. But I chose Christ, so there's like the difference over there. If it was up to me, I wouldn't live here. But my oh my, how grateful I am that I'm seated in heavenly places with Jesus Christ, okay? Yeah, because I chose to not be among the angry people at God bashing their fist at him on some, you mean Zionist God that only chooses 5 people in the Middle East. What about the rest of us? He gave us Jesus, who then gave the gospel to the Gentiles. That's what's good, okay? And even before the gospel came to the Gentiles, like total non-Gentiles, or like non-Jews, could be proselytized into Judaism. Judaism back in the day, like, there are currently Ethiopians in heaven that got saved in the days of, like, prior to Christ. Days of Abraham, Moses, and all those people. Yeah, so, choosy, but, like, if you wanted him, you could get him. It's always been like that. But no, you are out there complaining about a God that has given you an option to join his party, and you still throwing your toys up the cart on some, he didn't choose us. He didn't choose us. And so really, whatever. I'm too sick for all these rants. We're not doing it. My wig gonna fall off, okay? My wig is gonna fall off. I'm not doing it. I don't like this circumstance and this ecosystem. But we're gonna carry on, because this wig is gonna stay right where it's at, whether or not we are feeling ambivalent about continuing this conversation. Listen up, okay, guys? No, like, seriously, excuses, mexcuses. So all of these anti-Israel protests going on all over the show, jumping up and down like kangaroos, because literally they're like wild animals. Stomp. Okay? They're like, stop with the colonizer, stop with the colonization, stop with the colonizer, stop with the colonization, stop with the colonizer, stop with the colonization, stop. Oh, you don't sound like that? Why? Because it's got a South African accent? Well, that's how it comes to my ear. Stop with the colonization. You just sound ignorant, like you didn't study. Even though you're sitting in a whole university, go grab a textbook, but then again, it's America. They are just changing everybody's curriculum to be woke. So I get it. I understand. Maybe it's even critical race theory that you're studying. That's like, stop with the colonizer, stop with the colonization, stop with the colonizer, stop with the colonization. Whatever. You sound like Brenda from like down the road here. On Genevit's Tech, like Papa Uya, Kenya. Cause you lack context and understanding. Mamelang, you stop with the colonizer, stop with the colonization. We feel like all colonization things must disappear, die, die. And so basically lamenting that all manner and kinds of colonization needs to end. It makes sense, frankly. That's why Black Lives Matter is pro-Palestine. There's a theory that basically the colonizer is the reason why there's just been this like fire that's sparked on the earth of this like these religions. These religions on the earth that we don't like. All of these religions that we don't like. It's the colonizer, the colonization, the colonizer. If you just decolonize everywhere, then we will just be left with the raw religion. With the ones that were always there. These guys with their boats and their ships from the long ago. Coming here because they've got boats and ships. Oh, please. Okay, I've got 2 feet and I can run. But anyway, you come here, you give me religions. Really, truly, nobody asked for what you do. Nobody asked for you to come and change my ancestral worship. Nobody asked for you to come and change me from Hindu to Christian. Nobody called you up and said, hello, I feel like I'm lost. Okay, so come and evangelize me. Come and proselytize me. Do it, okay? Give me a taser shock out of my religion so I can inherit your colonizer, white man, Caucasian religion. Wait again. If you like a Harvard University seasoned disease, chill, sit down. I don't know what's going on with you because you were once upon a time very Christian. I don't understand, Grandshop, what's going on with all of America. Like, just sit down. Make like a flower bloom, like chill. And as for all of those students, let them stop with the colonization in all these universities across Europe and America, claiming that the colonization and the colonizer is the reason why Hamas invaded Israel. Let's give you proper history. Take a little bit of a reverse back. Let's get into spiritual matters, because at this point, if you are talking in terms of like, you know, brick and mortar history, like, you know, see it with your naked eye history, little lemala, you're gonna get hurt. You're gonna get hurt something bad. You're gonna be like Tarzan, swinging on a rope on some watch out for that deception, otherwise known as the tree. Listen up, human individuals, okay? Very well, we get it, alright? We get it. We totally, entirely get it. We understand it. That you had your own like original religions, but can we please just go back to the very original religion? It's not a religion, but a relationship with the God of the universe. And it started with like one dude and one lady by the name of Adam and Eve. That's a thing. Take it or leave it. Right there in Mesopotamia, otherwise known as the Middle East. Like it or not, the original religion is Judaism. Take it in your stride whether or not you wanna. It did not all start with a big bang. At least the Muslims agree with that. Let's think about the Adam and the Eva. They were not given the Torah. They were not given the 10 Commandments. They were just told to love the God your God. Why? Because they did not need the law. Why? Because they were healthy, wealthy, and wise in the body. They did not yet sin against the God. And so really and truly, why go lambaste them with the law? The law was only given because the men sinned. That's what's good. So law was there to basically make people know that what you're doing is wrong. I mean, you already knew because your conscience was speaking volumes to you. But now I'm going to etch it in stone so that you have got no excuse. That's what's good. And I'm gonna like knock it into some tablets. So Adam and Eve essentially did not really have a religion, just a relationship with God until they fell. Right, had a relationship with God until they fell, and then after they fell, That's when they invented the violin and the organ instrument, I promise you, because there was danger. Okay, they were like, oh no, what I do, shouldn't have done it, but we did it. All right, and now they could see all of a sudden, like, what, I'm naked. Oh, didn't know they were naked, so they didn't need the law to let them know that put some clothes on, nasty, I told ya. You know what I mean? The Lord did not give them the law right away. He just gave them their consciences. And that's when all hell broke loose on the planet. Oh, guys, it's like, what? So they originated there in the Mesopotamia, right? We know that Eden, it's Mesopotamia. Like Middle East, River Euphrates, one river like leads that way. Tigris, let's say it's in the Middle East, okay? You know, guys, cutting sugar is not such a bad idea. It's an acquired taste in the mouth when there's no sugar. So I just feel as if though everybody needs to like join that bandwagon, even though they used to love chocolate. Okay, let's get a little bit more serious about the story. Okay, so herein lies the Adam, here lies the Eve with like the sinful body now, and they recognize that they're naked, and then all of a sudden they start to feel things like a disquiet. Yeah, you know, I'm ugly, I get a pimple. They start to also get angry, you know, like, whoa, what's that? I feel like I'm not happy with the way that you picked the fruit today. I told you I don't like apples and you brought me apples. What's up with that? They started to notice emotions and stuff. And their emotions, I would imagine, they likely just kind of reacted to them like just happening upon emotion, okay? On some like anger. And then next thing, Adam was like, I'm going to speak like trash to Eve because I'm mad. And then he spoke like trash to Eve and was like, oh, but why doesn't it feel comfortable? What is that? And then he was like, oh, I guess that's what I will name guilt. Yeah. So now humankind was regulated by the emotion called guilt, to sort of kind of come up with a moral compass as to how to survive the fact that you know evil and you know that it can thrive, but it's highly ideal that you should not let it thrive. So now mankind had to exercise what is called self-control. That's what's good. And it is that self-control and that guilt, that therefore development of a moral compass, that is responsible for the development of pretty much every last world religion else that we have a God. Mankind is born seeking out God. That's a thing. It's written in the Lord's word in the book of Ecclesiastes. We kind of want to know if he exists or not. We just have this inquisitive, intrinsic, inherent thing that is very curious about where we come from, what's our general purpose in life, how's this gonna end, alright? The human race starts out all together like that. That's what's good. So when then you've got a whole bunch of people confused as to what's going on over here, and they realize that, okay, so you can't just do whatever you want, because then you feel uncomfortable, alright? And even after you do what it is that's nasty, you try to pretend like you didn't do it, because you thoroughly know that it needs to be hidden. Like Adam and Eve, after eating the fruit, they decided that they're gonna wear some clothes and hide from God. Cain, after killing Abel, was like trying to act like he didn't do it. Am I my brother's keeper? The guy was trying to pretend like that wasn't a thing. Like God can be hidden from, like God can have information concealed from him. That was Cain's attempt to deal with the blood guilt that was chilling on his hands. So herein lies then spreading populations across the earth, growing and growing in Mesopotamia and populating the rest of the world, doing whatever they want to do. And they've got this like fallen nature that understands that it can't just be barbarian and do whatever it wants to do, because it's being regulated by a very uncomfortable and an exquisitely uncomfortable emotion called guilt. So that guilt then spurred moral law. Whatever it is that we as the human race came up with to basically deal with the fact that you don't just get to yell at your wife, you don't just get to beat up your wife when you're unhappy with her, because you're gonna feel like trash. So maybe it's not so good to beat up the wife. So the better activity to walk in right now is to be kind to the wife, and if you have an inkling or an urge to beat her up, exercise self-control over it. So that's how then societies, in order that they might be a little bit more morally, compassed, a little less chaotic, then came up with rules, legislations, what it is, how it is that we can live. But I mean, ain't nobody out here in these streets gonna leave the human race alone. If at all, you can mess with him if he belongs to the kingdom of darkness. That's what's good. So mankind, given that they're born curious, I wonder what's going on. What's happening out there somewhere over the rainbow? Is there more? Somebody please tell me, do I have more to look at? That star did it just come here? Where do I come from? I don't know what is happening, so I boo! Hello over there. My name is Molek. My name is Chemosh. My name is whatever you want me to be. Sun, moon, star, Tammuz. My name is call me whatever. But I am good. How you doing? Yeah. I mean, of course, if the human race is out here trying to figure out somewhere over the rainbow, and they've got this moral compass, they don't know what's going on, they just know that they have an inherent inbuilt search machine, a search engine that is looking for what they don't know. Who gon' pitch? Who gon' pitch? Somebody tell us, sister, who been pitching? Who been pitching? Like, here it is that this dude, like, God has already kind of told the people who their God is, and the devil still pitched. The devil rocked up across the world to all the nations of the earth who were like, somewhere over the rainbow. And then some like irresponsible rando in the wilderness happened upon a demon god, realized that there is power in these fallen entities, some of whom I would imagine even manifest themselves physically. I mean, like the serpent actually spoke to Eve, a whole snake that talks. So those are y'all who don't think ukuthi abantu can have serpents that vomit money because batwele ngazo. If a snake can't talk, then a snake can vomit. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm just saying. What in the world under heaven did God say to Cain, before he killed his brother Abel? He was like, Cain, Satan. Sin, in other words, is crouching. Sin was given it was personified, right? Meaning that it was given a personality, meaning that it was attached to Satan or an entity of sort. He was like, Sin/Satan/demon is crouching at your door. That is personified, meaning that the Lord was speaking of an entity, all right? It is crouching at your door. And its desire is to have you, but you must conquer it. Indeed, later on in the scriptures it is written that your adversary, who? The devil, prances around, yet more personification, right? Like a roaring lion seeking whomever he may devour. So before we were given the word of God, the Rhema, we were then told rather, Cain was told by God that thing that prances around like a roaring lion seeking to devour whomever in the future, it's currently here with you now before we even write that word in the scriptures, in the future. Sin is crouching at your door. Its desires to have you. In other words, the devil is prancing around you like a roaring lion seeking to devour you. So, essentially, Cain, Abel, Adam, Eve knew about sin. They knew about entities, demons. They knew about fallen beings that can influence people. But once you move over to other places that have not been dealing with these things, they don't really know. But they definitely, likely manifest just as the devil manifests in physical form, in the form of a serpent in the garden as a snake, like I said. Likely the devil then manifests across multiple cultures in various either animals or maybe even in their menacing form. Let's save. Maybe even in their menacing form that they show themselves. But the devil could have shown himself in the physical form that the devil has after falling out of heaven, but it was likely so menacing that Adam and Eve might, not responded appropriately to it. Instead, he decided to indwell the body of the serpent. So perhaps it was through animals. And I do believe that this is a thing, because if you think about many ancient religions, they use cats a lot. Where is it that cats are like really greatly feared or really greatly Egypt, biggest and baddest randos when it comes to all different kinds of religions. If you think about hieroglyphics in Egypt and all that stuff that they drew on walls, those funny looking creatures that they draw on walls that look like human beings mixed with like creatures, like birds, like eagles and what have you, those hieroglyphics, just hieroglyphics. Go check out Egyptian hieroglyphics. It looks, if you read the word of God, let's go on right ahead and apply lipstick. It's not lipstick, it's lapel. My lips these days are dry. These days aren't drying. It's like the flu is like, I'm gonna also like erupt on your lips. It's like, don't do it. Anyway, yeah, think about the description of fallen angels, not fallen angels, angels. Okay, where do they describe angels in the scriptures? God does not get into deep description of angelic beings in the Bible, other than those descriptions which we can find in him talking about like the 4 living creatures around the throne of God, with the wheels and the funny little heads. If you let us go. Actually, that's what I was supposed to do in Jeffella from the very get-go, instead of just being like, guys, if you think about, let's just go to the book of Revelation. Is it Revelation or is it Ezekiel? Where do they describe? 1 minute. Yeah, it's the book of Revelation. I thought that maybe in Revelation it doesn't describe it, but it does. I don't know what's up with me and not being able to remember scripture properly. Okay, but it's okay, we can always read it, but it's really important to memorize scripture, guys, because the day's gonna come and people are like, I'm sorry, you don't get to keep a Bible. 1 minute. Okay, the word of the Lord that I was looking for was in Ezekiel 10. I had to Google it, like proper. I had to properly Google it so that I could like thoroughly explain this further. Properly. 1 minute. I'm sorry, I've got such like distractions and issues and tissues and fundamentals and everything just falling apart. But like, yeah, guys, there will be a speech lag, so I do apologize if that's like a thing that you're making an observation of. Alright, cool. So I just want to read Ezekiel 10 and then I'm going to go on right ahead to carry on pretty much talking from where it is that I was talking, that you might gauge. I've got points that are actually adding up together. Then I looked. Okay, the label of it is the glory of the Lord leaves the temple. Then I looked, and behold, on the expanse that was over the heads of the cherubim, there appeared above them something like a sapphire, in appearance like a throne. And he said to the man clothed in linen, go in among the whirling wheels underneath the cherubim, which is a form of angel, fill your hands with burning coals from between the cherubim and scatter them over the city. And he went in before my eyes. Now the cherubim was standing on the south side of the house when the man went in, and the cloud filled with the court, and a cloud filled the inner court. And the glory of the Lord went up from the cherub to the threshold of the house, and the house was filled with the cloud. The court was filled with brightness and the glory of the Lord, and the sound of the wings of the cherubim was heard as far as the outer court, like the voice of God Almighty when he speaks. And when he commanded the man clothed in linen, take fire from between the whirling wheels, from between the cherubim, he went in and stood beside a wheel. And the cherub stretched out his hand from between the cherubim to the fire that was between the cherubim, and took some of it and put it into the hands of the man clothed in linen, who took it and went out. The cherubim appeared to have the form of, here, this is where it gets important to the point that I'm trying to make. The cherubim appeared to have the form of a human hand under their wings. Alright? So take note of that. And I looked, and behold, there were 4 wheels beside the cherubim, one beside the cherub, and the appearance of the wheels was like sparkling beryl. And as for their appearance, the 4 had the same likeness, as if the wheel were within a wheel. When they went in, and in any of their 4 directions without turning, and as they went, but in whatever direction the front of the wheel faced the others, followed without turning as they went, and their whole body, their rims, and their spokes, their wings and their wheels were full of eyes all around them. The wheels that the 4 of them had, as for the wheels, they were called in my hearing the whirling wheels, and every one had 4 faces. And the face was the face of the cherub, and the second face was a human face. The third was the face of a lion. The fourth was the face of an eagle. So are you listening to this? The first had the face of a human face, the other one lion, the fourth eagle, lion, fourth face of an eagle. What was the first one? Cherub. Yeah, that's what's good. And the cherubim mounted up. These were the living creatures that I saw by the Chebar Canal. When the cherubim went, the wheels went beside them. And when the cherubim lifted up their wings to mount up from the earth, the wheels did not turn from beside them. When they stood, when they stood still, these stood still, and when they mounted up, these mounted up with them, for the spirit of the living creatures was with them. Then the glory of the Lord went out from the threshold of the house and stood over the cherubim, and the cherubim lifted up their wings and mounted up from the earth before my eyes as they went out, with the wheels beside them. And they stood at the entrance of the east gate of the house of the Lord, and the glory of God, of the God of Israel, was over them. These were the living creatures that I saw underneath the God of Israel by the Chebar canal, and I knew that they were cherubim. Each had 4 faces, and each 4 wings, and underneath their wings the likeness of human hands, and as for the likeness of their faces, they were the same faces whose appearance I had seen in the Chebar canal. Each one of them went straight forward. So this is not the only place in the scriptures where creatures that are very hard to imagine or fathom are described. So the Bible does not go into detail as to what every lost angel looks like, but we know that some of them can appear in human form, because we know of those angels that rocked up and counseled Abraham and Sarah that they're going to be having a baby in a year. Please, I'm sorry for the speech lag. Abraham and Sarah were told they're going to be having a baby. The angel of the Lord rocked up in human form. The Bible also says you must always entertain, be hospitable to strangers, because you don't know, you might be entertaining angels unawares. So we know some of them have got the form of human beings, you and me, etc. But some of them look like this, and these are angels. Cherubim are a form of angels. There are other kinds of cherubims. There are seraphim, there are etc. Orphanim. There are a lot of angels described in the scriptures, and what we know is that those that don't look like human beings can be kind of scary looking. Those that don't look like you and me are otherworldly and can be freaky to sight. And many of them that are fallen, I believe people in the tribulation are going to see. Alright, and this is described in Revelation 9, where the bottomless pit is open, and the bottomless pit is indwelt by fallen angels, some of the fallen angels of which, if you will recall from the beginning of God's word in Genesis, they left their first estate. And so because they left their first estate and mated with human women, the Lord bound them in chains. So they're not walking around freely. They're not doing whatever they want to do freely. There are some fallen angels, the third of them that fell, that are bound in chains in the, in the earth. And there are others that are bound at the great river Euphrates. We know that as well from the book of Revelation. Right, that are going to be set free, etc., also in the tribulation to do a thing. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. So those fallen entities that are currently housed in the bottomless pit and cannot come out, cannot roam freely because they've been bound for pretty much until the tribulation era. Zizopum. Some of them are gonna come out and they're gonna terrorize the earth. And I do believe that these are fallen angels. I believe that once angels fell out of heaven, I guess they could shapeshift, but they likely became menacing versions of what it is that God Almighty created them to be. But even in the not so menacing form, they're still scary to the human race. It would be a scary sight for you to see this creature, because it's not like something that we've seen on the earth. We've got one lion, we've got one eagle on the earth, we've got one leopard on the earth, but there are angels that have got faces of all of these animals all in one. When they dwell in a different dimension. Where shall we go? Revelation. I just want to read briefly, not all of it. Revelation 9. After the king of the bottomless pit, Abaddon or Apollyon, is given a key to is he the one that's given the key? They have a king over them as the angel of the bottomless pit. The key to the bottomless pit God is the one that holds the key to death and Hades, but he unlocks the bottomless pit, and there's a boss over them by the name of Apollyon, and Apollyon is a fallen angel in and of himself, and there are sub entities underneath him that he then unleashes on the world. And listen to how they look, okay? Where shall I go? The sixth angel blew his trumpet, and from the 4 horns, release the 4 angels who were bound at the great river Euphrates. So the 4 angels who had been prepared for the hour. So the 4 angels that had been prepared for the hour, The day and the month and the year were released to kill a third of mankind. The number of mounted troops was twice 10,000 times 10,000. I heard a number and, okay, and then listen to this, right? And this is how I saw the horses in my visions of those who rode them. They wore breastplates, the color of fire and of sapphire and of sulfur. And the heads of the horses were like lions' heads. And fire and smoke and sulfur came out of their mouths. By these three plagues, a third of mankind was killed by the fire and smoke and sulfur coming out of their mouths. For the power of their horses is in their mouths and in their tails, for their tails are like serpents with heads, and by means of them they wound. So go read Revelation 9 for yourself, right? So you are hearing or reading about some pretty menacing beasts over here, right? And I do believe that they are fallen entities, fallen angels, right, that left their first estate, and now they're being used to terrorize the earth, right? The Lord is using them to judge the world for all of their insanity, and their head honcho boss guy is Apollyon or Abaddon. All right, so we've seen fallen angels looking really strange. In Revelation, in Ezekiel 10, read of angels still also looking very strange, albeit being very glorious, because they belong to God. They're the four living creatures around the throne. We can therefore trust that there are angels, holy and unholy, that look really scary, right? They've got lions' heads, they have got faces of eagles, they've got human bodies, human faces, they've got teeth of, yeah, you get my point. They've got tails, they've got, yeah. And yeah, they don't all look like human beings. The Lord knows that looking the way that we do, he had to speak to us through angels that have the form of us. So therefore, I do believe, like, for instance, the Archangel Michael, I believe maybe he has wings, but I do believe largely he looks like a human being, because he was able to appear to some of God's people. Was he? Or was he? Yes, he did. Not so much appear, but be given in a vision, because Daniel saw the Archangel Michael blowing the trumpet blast before the rapture, you know, with the dead in Christ rising and whatnot. So the Archangel Michael likely has wings, but is also like in human form, but with wings. And then there are angels that don't have wings, or maybe they don't appear to have wings when they are talking with us, because we're entertaining what looks like human beings, but it's angels unawares. And then there are those that have got different forms that would, to a normal human being that has not been transcended into heaven, just freak out. They would be too scary, too shocking to take in their stride, even if they're still holy. So you can trust, therefore, that there are fallen angels that still have their form, their shape of what they look like when God made them originally in heaven, and when they fell, they likely manifest or appeared in physical form, since angels still have their physical bodies even though they're fallen, right, to people across the world. In those early days, who were seeking out some God, they were seeking knowledge, understanding, they were trying to find out somewhere over the rainbow, remember? And so then what appeared to them was, what do you call this? These entities. And now, if you look like that, if you are, for instance, with the devil being a serpent talking, people are gonna worship you. And that's why in Indian culture, a lot of Hindu customs absolutely adore to worship snakes, and you know that a cobra that they also charm with their flute and what have you. That I would imagine originated in the very same deception that slapped Adam and Eve, with a whole serpent talking, right? And yeah, I would imagine that that's also what is going on in those cultures, those religions, those spiritualities, where snakes are very hugely regarded, adored, and loved. Similarly too, if you look at Egyptian hieroglyphics, I actually wrote an article about this in one of my blogs, in my blog one time ago, that is barely perused, but anyway, whatever, where I was describing even the origin of this all-seeing eye, like this thing that they do with whatnot, and how it is that if you look at at the shape of the Orphanim angel, it has in the center of it an eye. Like if you just Google Orphanim and on the internet, you will notice that it has got like an eye in the center. And I was speculating in my article that likely the angel that appeared, the fallen angel that appeared to the Egyptians, that proliferated this eye worship going on all over the world was the Orphanim. It was the fallen Orphanim angel. And so all this like thing that people in Hollywood and the entertainment industry that they have adopted from Egyptian spirituality is from one type of fallen angel, which I would imagine is the Orphanim, given that the Orphanim angel is an angel that literally has got one eye in the center. One eye in the center. So that must be the entity that appeared to the ancient Egyptians, to a point where that is what they call the Eye of Horus. That's what they saw. That's what manifests to them until they worshipped it. So when you see something like that, one of these like something that looks like one of the 4 living creatures that's got wheels around it and an eye in the center type setup thing, if such a fallen angel appeared to somebody, they would in their mind then draw it in hieroglyphics. They would then in their mind envision it and communicate it to people, explain it as to what it is that they saw, and then everybody then just follows suit. And upon then there being signs, wonders, and miracles that these entities can do, actually moving metaphysical things that people can see as miracles, things that are not supposed to be possible in time or space. That's what then would award them worship. Humanity, given that they would not have been able to naturally, in their own human restricted sense, what it is that these angels did, they then awarded them worship. They decided to worship them because they metaphysically, in other words, impossibly motioned things that ought not have been possible to do, and so therefore they gave them worship. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like worshipping somebody purely because they did the impossible. And these entities belong to a space and a dimension where time and space do not exist, and so the probabilities and the potentialities, the possibilities of what can be done in that space are infinite. And when you're busy showing people magic tricks, understand they're gonna make you a god. So what I think happened, what I believe happened, in the very beginning, after Adam and Eve sinned, humanity was given all of this, like our consciousness, our curiosity, and with that curiosity and with our observation of morality, then continue to inquire further and further up until ultimately, and we know that the devil did not need to be conjured. He did not need to be called. He did not need to be summoned in order to pitch and tempt Adam and Eve. So it was not necessary for there to be a prerequisite ritual before these things appeared to human beings, because the devil was not summoned by Adam and Eve. They were living very innocent, pure lives, having not pierced into any dimensions, having not opened any portals, and yet the devil was able to deceive them into accepting a fallen state, and that's when all hell broke loose for them. So I believe what ultimately gets people into devil worship or into fake religion, into false worship, is just a dangling of a temptation in your environment through something that the earth recognizes, like a serpent. So Adam and Eve would not shake or freak out at the observation of a serpent, but they might have freaked out at the observation of an Orphanim angel, or a whatever. What was the Lucifer? Was he a cherubim or what not? In his form in heaven, he could not appear to them that way, so he grabbed an animal in the garden that they could recognize, and so was not so anomalous and otherworldly to them, and tempt them to get to a point where they open a portal, to get to a point where they open a door. Now, the Bible says that God does not tempt anybody, but we, as humanity, upon entering into desires, then graduate into sin. Sin then, when it is fully grown, brings about death. Do you understand? And then the wages of sin is, of course, death. So, however, every time there is a temptation all up in your grill, what is this? The Lord will always give us a way out. So we know that the Lord does not tempt anybody. So therefore, who is the tempter and the be all and end all of a tempter? It must be the devil. And the devil uses what? Desire. He uses our own desires to graduate them to a point of sinning. And then once we have sinned, we get where? To death. Do you understand? So Adam and Eve had yet to sin, but temptation was not off the table, because the devil was given permission, and because God was gathering for himself a people for his own possession. And so Adam and Eve had to be in a position where, if at all they did not want God, they had the option to do that. God had to give them that option in order for him to be God. He had to be egalitarian and fair, basically in bringing for himself a people. They could not be subjugated to the tyranny, if you want to call it that, of God's will. They had to be given their own free agency to make a decision to stay with God. And unfortunately for Adam and Eve, they made a decision not to do that. The Lord foreordained these things, he foresaw these things, and in so foreseeing them, then of course came up with a plan for salvation ultimately. So what I'm trying to explain right now is that for Satan, for the devil, the prince of the power of the air, to manifest in an ecosystem through an animal, you don't need to be doing a ritual. You don't need to be doing anything strange. You don't need to have called it upon yourself. He can literally pitch and rock up just because he can. The adversary, our adversary, the devil, prances around like a roaring lion. Thus saith the Lord in his word in 1 Peter 5 verse 8, that the adversary, the devil, our adversary, the devil, prances around like a roaring lion, seeking whomever he may devour. This whomever does not have to be actively poking and prodding away at a Ouija board. They don't have to be. They can just be doting, dilly-dallying around, playing, swinging on a park, or swinging in the park, just being dainty, and that's it. That's all that they're doing. And then the devil has got permission to tempt them. It is upon them heeding or capitulating to temptation when you start to do random, silly stuff that afflicts the planet, like open portals, like open an opportunity for more menacing sightings to be happened upon. So essentially the human race did not have to be subjugated to the tyranny of seeing orphaneme angels. The human race did not have to be subjugated to the tyranny of seeing entities that have got 4 faces, that have got 1 eye in the center, that have got wings and hands of humans, however hoofs of goats. Like, human beings did not have to see that, because that was not built for our dimension. Those are creatures that were not built for the earth. We know lions, we know chickens, we know cows, and we know pigs. We know snakes, but we don't know type of entities that look like what in the world under heaven it is that one, like the 4 living creatures around God's throne look like, with the 7 spirits of God. We didn't have to see any of that. But what we did is what brought all of these like thriller experiences on the earth. We brought all of this scary stuff to ourselves. That's what I'm getting at, by capitulating to temptation. So Satan could take on the form of any animal in the wilderness. He chose the serpent. The serpent then got judged to roam around on its belly for the rest of its days eating dust. Okay, that was its judgment. All right, ultimately the actual animal that is a serpent, a snake, and it is not today known as one of the most evil or rather most wickedly utilized creature of God for demonic ends type thing. But despite what it is today, a serpent was a recognizable creature, much like a lion or a rat or a pig or a chicken or a peacock. But the devil chose the serpent, and a peacock would not be scary to Adam and Eve. But a peacock with 5 heads, that would be scary. Do you understand? And human hands, that would be scary. The devil knew that he could not, the Lord had given restrictions to Satan, saying that you cannot as a fallen angel in your form to the human race. They gotta let you in. So that's what the devil did to Adam and Eve, was like, did God really say? He tempted them as a serpent, something they could recognize. Temptation, like I said, does not need a prerequisite of human irresponsibility. It will always come. It is the way that the Lord tests us. Even in the wilderness, he was tested in every way and yet never sinned. He went through all of those tests, and who tested him? The devil. That ancient serpent, the devil, is the one that put the Lord through all of those wilderness tests. Convert the stone into a rock, and the Lord responded into bread. And the Lord responded, man shall not live by bread alone, but by the word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Jump off this cliff and trust the angel of God to catch you. And the Lord responded, thou shalt not test the Lord your God. For is it not written? So he used the Lord's word against him. Is it not written that the Lord will charge his angels concerning you, so you will not strike your foot against a stone? They will bear you up in their wings. And the Lord's response was, thou shalt not test the Lord your God. Worship me and I will give you the kingdoms of this world. Thou shalt have no other God but the one true, etc. That was God's response. Jesus, when he was in the wilderness. So if Jesus could be tempted, then of course all of us are going to be tempted. And Jesus was tempted by the serpent just in the same way, in a what do you call this? In a sinless body, just like Adam and Eve. Jesus was tempted in a sinless body, just like Adam and Eve, but unlike Adam and Eve, he did not sin. So the very same affliction that came on Eve and Adam was resisted by Jesus in a way that Adam and Eve did not, evidencing that Adam and Eve had it in them to resist from a sinless state. They could have made like the Son of Man and not sinned and subjugated all of us to the tyranny of the fall, but they didn't. They rather capitulated. And so that's why Christ is the perfect propitiation, and also why Jesus Christ is called the second Adam, because he is the Adam that did the better thing, that is therefore, since sin came into the world through one man, so too shall then righteousness be imputed unto mankind through one man, Jesus Christ, etc., etc. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, yeah, so the devil does not have to have a prerequisite of you acting a shoddy deal today for him to tempt you. You could be sitting doing absolutely nothing shady for a silly idea to pop up in your mind, to like an idea just telling you masturbate, an idea telling you fornicate, an idea telling you watch something nasty on the internet, an idea telling you swear it up a storm, an idea telling you, get my point, right? You don't have to be doing anything strange for weird, ugly, creepy nonsense to come in your mind. You all know that. That's why the Bible says that we have to demolish arguments and rather hold into captivity every thought to the obedience of Jesus Christ. So that's the first thing, my Bobby, out here in the grill, right? You've got Adam and you've got Eve getting tempted by this entity that is in the form of a serpent in the garden. And the thing that would open the world to all manner and kinds of scary, freaky things from another dimension, from basically all the things that God has created now cracking open a portal, a portal, yeah, into the earth to see strange stuff. Adam and Eve were the beginning of that thing. They essentially commenced hauntings on the earth. They were the first people to crack open a haunting, first people to respond to a temptation to play with the Ouija board. And now when you play with a Ouija board, the temptation to play with the Ouija board can be whispered into your ear. You can then decide, I'm not doing this, and run scared out of that place, flee from sin. Or you can decide to play with the Ouija board and deal with the fact that now you've got a haunting, a grudge, all up in your grill for the rest of your life, and now you need an exorcist type establishment thing. Well, that's what happened in the Guardian. So I would imagine then what happened with the ancient people, similarly to Adam and Eve, they likely were experienced through Earth's creatures, like cats and dogs, like regular serpents, like maybe even a trance, a dream, just lying in your bed. And then the devil, since he was able to do it with Adam and Eve, and there had to be no prerequisite of sin present for temptation to happen, then was like, do you really want to know more? Because I know that you're seeking. I know you're searching, dude. I know you're interested in finding out if somewhere over the rainbow there's more to this thing than just this thing. Yeah, I know you want to know. Well, all you gotta do to find out is do A, B, C, D. Just as the devil said to Adam and Eve, all you gotta do to find out good and evil is eat of that tree. Did God really say? So the deed of them eating the tree was sinning against God because God gave a commandment. And that's what opened the portal for Adam and Eve. So I would imagine what opened satanic sightings, lots and lots of fallen angels, seeing sightings of aliens, sightings of all these weird, creepy things that human beings have in the history of the human race cited. What commenced it was not so much temptation, but heeding temptation, capitulating to temptation, the temptation of which was inspired into the bones of people because of their curiosity about what more is there out there. Mankind made an observation of morality. They saw that when they do certain things, they feel uncomfortable. It's called guilt. Societies therefore came up with structures to regulate how we treat each other so as to not be so barbaric. Right? That's why ancient civilizations are so barbaric. However, in modern society, we're less barbaric. Why? Because we made sufficient observations, and these inferences or conclusions caused us to create law and order and structure. But without God, without religion, religion came later when mankind then made a decision to dabble with temptation that was given them to do certain things to basically open their third eye to whatever's going on. And the devil is the one that gave them steps as to do A, do B, do C, just as he told Adam and Eve, eat of that tree and you will be good. So the ancient Egyptians were likely visited in dreams or through animals, things that were crawling on these streets, and told to do certain rituals, and these rituals manifest such menacing entities that they could do nothing but worship them. They manifest such menacing entities that they could do nothing but worship them. And these entities not only were menacing, but they had extra earthly powers. They had extra dimensional powers. They had powers that we cannot operate in. They were able to do things that we can't do, like walk through walls, like push an object from one place to another without touching it. They were able to do such things. And when you make an observation of that, and they also had power to weaken people, influence their minds, make them faint, make them feel woozy, dizzy. You get my point. You know, demonic attack, if you've experienced it, you will know how it'll mess even with your mental ecosystem. You'll get tired, like fatigue out of nowhere. Yeah, stuff like that. They were able to mess with the chemical constitution of a human's body. And when they noticed the power that these things had, that was extra earthly, otherworldly, they of course had no other choice but to worship them. They concluded that, oh, so my curiosity was rightly placed. There is a God, or there are gods, and these are they. These are they. Hence now we've got all these global religions, and many of the earth's nations are even polytheistic because they have cited many such entities, and so gave them each a place as deities. They gave them each a throne. Like in Hinduism, you know how polytheistic they are. They've got like thousands, if not millions of gods. Type establishment thing. They cited all of them, drew them as how they saw, whatever it is that they saw, they drew. And now, today, we've got all of these Hindu gods that they swear by. And when you are ignorant, you might think, Uti, they're naive to think there are all these gods and all these things actually exist. But you know what they do? They're not naive, which is going to bring me to the next point. Let's move to the next part.